Okay, so I thought I would make a video because I feel like sometimes when writing things, things get lost in translation, and I really wanted to just explain a few things that I feel like would be better over a video versus writing it. Um, I did take some notes here of things that you said that I wanted to address, and I completely understand why you believe certain things, why other people believe certain things. I too used to believe those things. I ate, animal products for the first 25 years of my life, so I understand the lifestyle of eating animals and using animals, like wearing animals, and believing that humans were more superior to animals. But you don't have to believe that humans you don't have to believe that animals are at the same level of humans to show them compassion. You don't have to believe that animals are the same level as humans to show the compassion and agree that they don't deserve to be abused and exploited. I first want to. You said, why are vegans over the top? I can see why people would think that vegans are over the top, but I think if everyone really understood why vegans are over the top or really passionate is because there's tremendous suffering going on in the world that we don't really think about, that is hidden from us, and vegans are fully aware of the suffering that's going on in the world and how it's actually affecting humans as well. It's not just affecting non-human animals, it's affecting the whole world. So when vegans come off as very passionate or abrasive or aggressive, it's not for no reason. There's a reason why vegans are the way they are, or some vegans are the way that they are. I want to state that veganism isn't a dietary belief. Veganism isn't a religion. It isn't a cult. Veganism is based on facts, and it's not just a dietary belief. It's a lifestyle, and it's a lifestyle which, as far as possible, you avoid. It's a way of living where you try to cause the least amount of harm possible because there's so much horrible things going on in the world, and veganism is living in a way where you try to cause the least amount of harm possible with your actions. So I want to start off by saying, and I don't know all the facts, I don't claim to know all the facts, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, but I have done a lot of research and watched a lot of documentaries and, things that are proven by science to be true. I want to start off with the environment. Animal agriculture is the leading cause of environmental destruction, global warming, ocean dead zones, rainforest destruction, all that. And before you tell me, oh, well, soybeans cause this and blah, 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 eating plants causes destruction, I didn't claim that eating that plant crops, don't cause destruction. I'm well aware that lots of things cause destruction, but animal agriculture is by far the most destructive industry on the planet, and it surpasses anything, any destruction that we have going on combined together, because animal agriculture, we set aside 70% of the world's crops to feed the animals that we want to eat. That doesn't include all the water that it takes to use for these crops to feed the animals. It doesn't include the water that we use to actually give to the animals. And then you have to get into the greenhouse gases that these animals are producing, which is the main cause of global warming, and the amount of waste they produce is getting into our waterways. It's creating disease, and it's eventually drains into the ocean, which causes ocean dead zones. And if the rainforest dies and the ocean dies, we pretty much don't have any oxygen for the planet, and we die. As of right now, we have about 7 billion people on the planet, and we have over 30,000 children dying a day of starvation in foreign countries, in America, you name it. We have people dying every single day of starvation. Yet, with the resources that we currently have, we could feed 10 billion people, but all of those resources and land and water is being set aside for animals that the Western world wants to eat. If we just ate those plants directly, we would not have world hunger. We wouldn't have that problem, let alone the damage that it's doing to the planet. I want to address, and another, sorry, I'm all over the place, but a documentary that you should check out to get started, or just to give you an idea of how animal agriculture is destroying the planet, is if you have Netflix, you should really watch the documentary Cowspiracy. It's a really well done documentary. I was vegan for about 2 years before I saw that documentary, and I was in absolute shock about the destruction that animal agriculture was causing. I knew it was causing a lot of destruction, but I wasn't aware of how much. And so that documentary was really well done. Another thing that I want to address is that people think that we're carnivores or omnivores. This is not true. Like I mentioned before, the longest and most comprehensive study ever done on the human diet was called the China study. Over 40 years of research. We are not carnivores and we are not omnivores. We're plant eaters. We're definitely not designed like a cow. We are more designed like a primate, like frutivores. I'll give you a few examples. Carnivores and omnivores have very short digestive tracts, which are made for digesting flesh and animal protein. They have short digestive tracts, so that flesh doesn't stay in their system very long. They eat it and it's quickly passed through. Humans have long digestive tracts, which is to break down plants. We're not meant to eat animal products, flesh, their secretions. Our digestive tract is very long and it gets stuck in there. Our digestive tracts are made for lots of fiber and plants. We don't have the digestive system to digest flesh. Also, we don't have canines. These are not canines. These are nothing like my dog's teeth. These are nothing like cat's teeth, bear's teeth, lion teeth. I also don't have natural claws. All omnivores and carnivores have natural weapons to kill animals. Anyone who's watching this video, I can guarantee you've never killed an animal with your bare hands and your teeth. All omnivores and carnivores have that instinct. A comparison that someone told me, if you put a child in a crib with a bunny and an apple, the child's probably going to play with the rabbit and eat the apple. Now, if you put a baby lion in a crib with a bunny and an apple, the lion's probably going to play with the apple and eat the bunny. We have zero omnivorous or carnivorous instincts at all. Again, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor. You should check out on Netflix the documentary called Forks Over Knives, and then there's also a more updated one which is called What the Health. Forks Over Knives is based off the book The China Study, like I said, which was the longest, most comprehensive study ever done on the human body and diet. And the conclusion to that study was that the optimal amount of animal products people should be eating is 0. Another thing is that humans don't process animal flesh because that's how we get high cholesterol. You could feed a dog as much bacon as you want, and that dog might get fat, but that dog will never develop high cholesterol or heart disease from the bacon. Neither will any omnivore or carnivore. Their systems are meant to digest those things, ours are not. Actually, the #1 killer in our country is heart disease, which is caused by animal products. You can only get cholesterol from animal products. So if we were meant to be eating meat and animal products, why is our #1 killer in this country from the consumption of animal products? Another thing to look into, the top 15 causes of death in the Western world are directly correlated with the consumption of animal products, except for car accidents. So again, if we're designed to eat animals and their byproducts, why is it killing us? If we were designed to eat it, it wouldn't be killing us. You'll also learn in the China study, they did study on other cultures who ate very little animal products to no animal products, and they had the best health and the most longevity. Again, you can go check those documentaries out, and there's also tons and tons of other resources that you can check out. Now for the last part. Those Bible verses that I mentioned, I see this a lot with religious people. They like to use things in the Bible to their benefit, and when something in the Bible doesn't go along with what they're currently doing, they somehow feel like it could be misconstrued. I see this a lot. I see religious people using bad things in the Bible to justify doing bad things, such as slavery, discrimination against black people, and eating animals. Thou shalt not kill, I don't feel it can be misconstrued. It doesn't have an asterisk next to it said, unless you have paws, feather, beaks, fins, or paws, then you can kill them. Thou shalt not kill. I feel like that is the most simple, self-explanatory commandment that you can have. Thou shalt not kill. Also, all these other verses talk about how God doesn't want blood on your hands. Sacrificing animals is not what he wants. I don't see how any of those examples that are provided could be misconstrued. Those were written by a man out of compassion. And I feel like people like to skip over the good stuff because it doesn't go along with what they're doing right now. People want to justify eating animals. They want to believe that animals were put here for us, blah, 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 which is just completely ridiculous. Animals were not put here for us. They're here with us. I believe in a loving God. I actually refer to them as a higher power. You like to call him God. I believe God is love. And when I think about what is the more loving thing you can do in a situation, kill an animal because you like the way they taste, or eat plants that have all the essential nutrients that you need, and leave the animal alone. And then maybe you can eat some plants together. I feel like if a loving God exists, he would not want you to kill and torture his animals, especially if you don't have to. Now, we can get into the examples of, well, what about survival, blah, 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 blah. I'm not saying that before we didn't need to kill animals to survive. Yes, there's periods in our history that we needed to kill animals to survive, and I'm not saying that wasn't justified. But in this day and age, we have grocery stores, we have, produce being shipped all over the world, and we have access to thousands and thousands of plants to sustain ourselves without eating animals. And when people think of vegans, they're only eating salads, blah, 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 blah. That's nonsense. If people were only eating lettuce and salads, we would not sustain ourselves. Lettuce, salads, that is not vegans' main food. We have rice, potatoes, quinoa, starches, more starches. We have legumes, we have fruit, we have vegetables. We have a plethora of plant foods that satisfy us and has all the essential nutrients that we need. We have zero need to kill any animals and to eat any animals to sustain ourselves. There is nothing humane that ever happens in a slaughterhouse. Why do we have places called houses of slaughter? Slaughterhouse. It's literally, you're slaughtering innocent beings who don't want to die, and you're literally slitting their throat open while they're screaming, and we have zero mercy for them, and we're doing this in the name of God, in the name of a loving God. that doesn't sound like a loving God to me. If a loving God wouldn't have houses of slaughter. In the beginning and the end of the Bible, if you believe in the Bible, are vegan. The Garden of Eden, which you could also say the Garden of Vegan, was a vegan haven. No one was killing each other. Everyone was happy, blah, 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 blah. Then in the story, they sinned, and now we all, were tempted by evil and blah, blah, blah. But the end of the Bible states that, I don't know the exact wording to the verse, but, no one shall kill or harm anyone on his holy mountain. The lion shall eat with the ox, and so on. We are not meant to be slaughtering and killing animals for anything. That is not what a loving God would want. If God condoned us forcibly impregnating cows, which could also be called rape, taking their babies away, killing their babies, slicing their mothers' throats open so we can have hamburgers and hot dogs, if that's something that God condones, and if God condones us testing on animals and torturing animals in laboratories and skinning animals so we can wear them for our clothes and our shoes, and using animals in entertainment, why they're suffering and they're in pain, if a loving God is okay with that, and us eating death and discrimination all the time, then what could you possibly imagine the devil do? What worse could the devil do if a loving God condoned all of those things? That isn't God. That isn't a God of love, and that isn't a God that I want to have anything to do with. And I find it inexcusable that people use God to justify such horrible acts on animals or people. Humans are animals. Animals are just non-human animals. Look at us. We are not a species to be proud of because we build tall buildings and we've driven cars. All we've really done, we haven't really evolved in our morality. We enslaved black people in America for 200 years, and white people believed that black people were here for them, just as people believe animals are here for us. None of that is true. It is the same sick mindset that we had against black people and have it against Jewish people. We killed over 6 million Jewish people because why? Because some man, convinced people that they were bad? So we slaughtered 6 million Jewish people and we enslaved black people for 200 years right here in America? It's the same thing. We do the same thing to animals that we've done to each other. The only reason we are so good at killing each other is because we've always practiced on the animals first. And before you get offended about me comparing black slavery to animals and Jewish people to animals, my great-grandparents died in the Holocaust and Auschwitz. So I don't want to hear, and my father and his parents escaped over here. It was a very horrible story, what happened to them and their family and how they had to come here. And that, so I don't want anyone to be offended that I'm comparing the two because they're both tragic. The only reason we are capable of doing these horrible things to each other is because we think it's okay to do to the animals. So we're really okay with violence. It's just we're not okay with who it's being done to. Why don't we just eliminate violence and we stop eating it, and then maybe we can live in peace? But we're never going to have peace unless we give compassion and respect to everyone. Animals are individuals and should be included in that circle of compassion because it's killing the planet, it's killing our health, and somehow we excuse the violence and the horrible things that are happening to animals for whatever reason. It's irrational. And yeah, so basically, we're killing, dismembering, and torturing animals, and then we're eating it. So how could we not somehow exude that as a species if you are what you eat? So anyways, that was a long explanation. If you made it through this whole video, good job. Oh yeah, you asked me how I become an extreme vegan. I don't feel like being vegan is extreme. I feel like killing trillions of animals every single year, innocent beings, why it's destroying the planet and our health is extreme. I don't think eating starches and vegetables and sticking up for the most innocent and the most vulnerable beings on the planet is extreme. It's a necessity, and it needs to stop. We have to stop doing this to animals before we have any peace in the world. So there you have it.